Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The important news and editorial that would be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news that I'll be discussing with you. I'll show you the intro part that what we are going to discuss further in the next few minutes. So first, that news is there on today's discussion. The first is about the G20 Workstream. We'll see the detail about the SERPA track and the functioning of the G20. Second news on the discussion is CBDC that can make the payment cross-border more efficient. This is what the Reserve Bank of Governor has said in a statement. Then we'll look into the important news that is 37,000 alien species has been introduced by the human activities. This is a report that has been published. Other than this, Indian Air Force began Western Air Command annual exercise. This will be there on the discussion. And the final conclusion of the discussion will proceed with the editorial that is emerging countries need women-led climate actions. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this session, there will be MCQ based questions where I'll be giving you two important questions that will help you for the part of the upcoming prelims examination. So this is all on the discussion agenda. So without any further ado, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do hit that like button. And before we start with the discussion part, just to tell you about the Nishchay All India Test Series program. This is aimed for the civil services examination for the prelims 2024. Through this All India Test Series program, we are providing 4,900 plus questions along with the discussion on that particular questions or the topics. There will be free demo that will be provided to you and free magazines for the content enrichment. If you want to enroll instantly, you can use this QR code. You can scan this QR code and purchase this test series, or either you can reach out to a website finding the details about the program, and that will help you to get the further details about the Nishchay All India Test Series program. Now, starting with the session, that is work stream of G20, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So before I start with the G20 work for the part that they're actually making with the SERPA tracks and the other tracks that is there, I just wanted to tell you about the G20. This comprises all the countries. India is a part of the G20. When it comes to G7, these are the member country. G8 include Russia, and these all together comprises the G20 members. Sometimes it can be important for the other competitive examination. Now, coming back to the news, that is G20 or the Group of 20 is a unique intergovernmental forum which comprises of the key global stakeholders, which include world leaders from the developed and emerging economies. If you look at the part and main aim behind this, it aims to achieve the economic transformations through creative synergies and social institutions innovations. Now this time, India is the current chair for the G20. India के पास G20 की presidency है, and this time we are holding 18th annual G20, that is State of Government Summit. This number is important for many other examination and even for prelims. So it will take place in Bharat Mandapam in Pragati Maidan in New Delhi on September 19 and 10, right? Sometimes the name of the venue can also be important for all other competitive examination that you are appearing for. Now, what are the major tracks of the G20? That is again important. You must know in the mains also this can be relevant. So the tracks include the SERPA track, this is one, then the finance track and the official track. The engagement of the groups come under the unofficial track. Now, how is the G20 structured? This is other important point that you must know. As a part of the prelims also, this can help you to gauge extra information on this G20 structure. So first we'll start with the finance track. So in the finance track, this is headed by the finance minister, and the central bank governor usually meet 4 times a year, and 2 meetings to be held on the sideline of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund meeting. So this is basically the part where the central head banks actually have a meeting and they discuss the global and emerging issues. It mainly focus on the physical and monetary policies issuing the global economy, या फिर वो infrastructure से related issues हुआ, financial regulation, financial inclusion, international financial architecture, and international taxation. So these are the broad area and spectrum of topic which is covered under the discussion of the finance track. Now the second important component, that is Sherpa track. In this, the Sherpa track was established as a forum that became the leaders in 2008. It consists of representative from the head of the state. उसके अलावे जो focus होती है Sherpa track की, that mostly comprises of the part where socio-economic issues are taken into consideration, and these socio-economic issues comprises of agriculture first, second is anti-corruption, third is climate change or climate, then we have digital economy as a fourth important component, educations, employment, energy, environment, health, education, trade, and investment. Make sure if you're writing in mains examination specifically, you can highlight all this important point that is mentioned under the Sherpa track. Now there are 13 working group that is functioning within the Sherpa track. Which all are these 13 track? I'll tell you one by one. So the first is agriculture working group. Then we have anti-corruption working group, culture working group, development working group, digital economy working group, disaster reductions working group, education working group. This is followed by other groups that include the employment working group, energy transitions group, environmental and climate sustainability group, health group, tourism group, trade and investment group. It is not necessary to remember each and every group one by one, but at least you should know that in totality there are 13 groups. Even if UPSC asks in prelims there are only 2 groups that is working, then you can easily negate that answer because the correct answer would be 13 groups that is working. Now India presidency की अगर बात करें, which currently India is holding. So India presidency has a remarkable initiative establishing the new project for the working, where the disaster risk reduction is something which has been pivotal. उसके अलावे जो startup है उसके बारे में बात की गई है, and the part where engaging the economy and stakeholders is taken into consideration. India's theme for this particular part of the G20 focuses on Vasudhaiv Kundavakam. That means one earth, one family, one future. And India's presidency for G20 is a stellar hope of delivering the innovations, solutions for the world's most pressing problem, right? So definitely it has been overall success with a lot of meeting taking place on the different verticals and on different topics. G20 has encompasses with the possibilities of the topic and the making things more possible, where the thing has been explored at the global forum. Now moving ahead with other news, that is the role of CBDC in the cross-border payment, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. Now if you look at the part, अगर बात करें RBI के गवर्नर की, उन्होंने recently cross-border payments को more efficient बनाने की बात की है by incorporating with the help of the digital technology. See, in the present era, with the 21st century where technology transformation is actually at its epitome and at its apex, now this point is very important that we are taking into consideration, that is digital currency. Now, the Reserve Bank of Governor has noted that faster and cheaper cross-border payment services would be deliver widespread benefit to the people. Now, RBI Governor said that the high cost, low speed and limited access to insufficient transparency has a key challenges. अगर cross-border payment के साथ आप इसे relate करके देखें, you will easily make out that what are the problem that is being faced by the government and even by the bank that is actually taking place with the settlement system. Adopting the central bank with the digital currency to make a payment more efficient. This is how the things will be put in place, and RBI effort in this regard is definitely commendable when it comes to the part of digital currencies. Now, CBDC की अगर बात करें, what are the significant advantages and how it has been substantially contributing in their part. So first, it has improved the availability and the usability of the central bank money, meeting the future payment needs in a digital economy, addressing the consequences in the decline of the cashes. If there's any chunks of the cashes, this can be easily weighed out with the part of the CBDC. As a building block for the better cross-border payments, this is again one of the important highlights. Supporting the resilient payment landscape. As you know that India is the country which has crossed 10 billion mark for the part of the UPI payment. Then we have the other benefit include avoiding the risk for the new form of private money creations, and last but not the least is supporting competition, efficiency, and innovations in the payment. So this is how the things actually work. Now the other part, if you look at the part for the central bank digital currency, इस बार के यूनियन बजट में भी हाईलाइट की गई थी चीज़ों को. So RBI that said that they will be introducing the digital bank currency with the blockchain and other technology. This is for actually budget 22 and 23. Right? This will lead to more efficient and cheaper currency management system, and this will give boost to the digital economy. This is what actually government has broader framework and roadmap when it comes to the digital bank, the central bank digital currency. Now, और क्या क्या practices हैं जो globally की जा रही हैं CBDC को लेकर के. So a study was there by Atlantic Council Geo-Economic Center found that 105 countries are considering the possibility of launching CBDC that could primarily use the bank transactions. Now ये estimate की गई है कि almost ऐसे 35 nations हैं, right? They are significantly on the part they using the digital bank currency, and this has been huge jump in the recent trend. Now about 19 of the group of 20 has been exploring for the part of CBDC, and most of them have made progress with the initial research stage. Now when you see India, we have made substantial progress. India ने काफ़ी हद तक की, और RBI के regulations की अगर बात करें, RBI has been definitely doing a commendable job in terms of various progresses that we have made in the digital transition in the country. Now moving to the other news, IPBES report find invasive alien species, something important for general studies paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation, and EIA, that is environmental impact assessment. So according to the new report published by the Intergovernmental Platform on the Biodiversity and Economic Services, this is in short form we call it IPBES, that has said that 35,000 or 3,500 out of 37,000 alien species has been introduced in the human activities in our biome, in our environment, and this is subsequent due to some of the things that were not suitable for our environment, right? The invasive alien species pose a major threat to nature, economy, food security, and even for the human health. So it's always not appreciable that the invasive species numbers is on a higher side. Now this was actually the report that was published. So this is the report that is there on the official page. Even you can look at the official website of IPBES. These are the possible release that is there on their portal. Now what is invasive species की अगर बात करें, so invasive species refer to the native organism which was introduced in the new ecosystem that can significantly harm the environment and human health, and these species have outcompete native species जहाँ पे ये disrupt करते हैं ecological balances को, that can lead to further decline and extinction of the native species. So that is the reason invasive species is not always friendly with the environment. Now about the IPBES basics that you must know, because this is a news, there can be a direct question in the prelims examination specifically, so I'm highlighting this part. So it is an intergovernmental platform. It is full form as Intergovernmental Platform for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. एक independent intergovernmental body है जो कि establish की गई थी as a science policy, and they work on the part of biodiversity ecosystem. We are working on the same similar situation that is there by the United Climate Science Board. It was actually established way back in 2012. The year is important. It was created to assess the part of biodiversity. उसके अलावा contribute to the biodiversity to people, promote the sustainability with the use of biodiversity and conservation of the ecosystem. This is what the main functions of the Intergovernmental Platform for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services is concerned. Now finding of the reports की अगर बात करें, this is specifically relevant for the mains examination. Whatever finding that I'll be discussing will be relevant for mains. So first, that intergovernmental panel, they have said that the invasive alien species have one or more 5 indirect diverse biodiversity with the loss globally, along with the side of the use of change, direct explorations की बात की गई है with climate change and pollutions. Now other than this, the water hackney, that is the world most widespread alien species are there on the land. So the widest number is there. And apart from that, lantana is the following shrub, and the black rat that is there on the second of the most widespread globally. So there, from this particular statement, there can be a direct question in the prelims examination. The brown rat and the other horse mouse is also widespread as an alien invasive species. Now region wise क्या data है, किस countries में किस तरह की performances रही हैं. So in that a report found that 34% of the impact for the biological invasion was there, and in part of the America, 34% in Europe और Central Asia में 25% from Asia Pacific and 7% from Africa. तो ये कुछ है डेटा आपके लिए ज़रूरी है. जो लीस्ट है वो अफ्रीका के है, दैट इज 7%. Most negative impact was there on the land, that is for the 75%. And forestry, woodland cultivations की अगर बात करें, this is considerably low number with the fresh water to 40 and marine to 10%. The invasive alien species are most damaging on the island, with the numerous alien plant not exceeding the number of the native plant, with more than 25% on the island. Now, moving to the other news, that is IAF began Western Air Command annual exercise, something very important and significant at the point where India is looking forward with strengthening the part of the military forces, जहाँ पे LEC actually line of actual control में चाइना के साथ टसल चल रही है. उसके अलावा ये और भी ज़्यादा important है, because we are thinking of creating an indigenous part जहाँ पे we are looking forward with augmenting the overall air services and even for the annual exercises. This is important for General Studies Paper 3, that is various security forces, agencies and their mandate. So annual training exercise की अगर बात करें, Trishul is the Western Command with the Indian Air Force that has begun recently. The exercise will see the activations for the multiple spread across the line of control and line of actual control. Exercise is scheduled from 4 to 14th. और इस exercise में largely जो region covered होंगे, that include Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Now aim क्या है इस exercise की? First and foremost, that aim of the exercise is to combat the capabilities and force with asset with the various operations and dimension. It will be looking into the important components so that major combat capabilities are there on the exchange. It will also be one of the largest air exercise that will be carried out by our Indian Air Force. And the exercise Trishul, the name of the exercise is important for prelims. This is taking place amid the 3 year of the confrontation that is there between the India and Chinese troop, as well as India's continuing forestry ties with Pakistan. Now moving to the editorial of the day, that is emerging country need a women-led climate change, something important for General Studies Paper 2. That is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementation. At the same time, this particular news is also important for General Studies Paper 3, where environment related issues are mentioned in your syllabus. So what I'll be discussing under this editorial, first to look at the theme. The theme is about the climate change and its impact on women. We'll see the impact of the climate change, status in the low income countries, gender specific issues देखेंगे. उसके अलावा women education और training की क्या अहमियत है, क्या फर्क पड़ेगी उससे, and the way forward. So gender equality की अगर बात करें, with the environmental goals, they are mutually reinforcing to create a virtuous or the vicious cycle to accelerate the achievement of SDG goal. This particular goal, which called for the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they are categorically highlighted that this is something very important, that gender equality and environment goals are taken into consideration. Now, the impact of climate change is profound. अगर बात करें इसके consequences के, it has the biggest consequences in the livelihood option of an individual. The effects of climate change vary according to the location, socio-economic status, and the gender. Specifically in this article, we'll be looking how it is biased for the women. Now, impact of climate change on women की अगर बात करें, एक ILO की report है, that is International Labour Organization, and ILO has specifically highlighted in a study in 2019 and said that by 2030, 2.2% of the total women workforce that is working worldwide will lost with their job because of the high temperature, and due to which their productivity with the loss equivalent to 80 million full-time jobs. So these are the part of the anticipation that is there from the organization like International Labour Organization. And the United Nations also has highlighted that across gender, women are considered as the highly vulnerable for the disproportionately affected by the climate change that meant to impact the part of climate change. So this is what has been specifically highlighted first by ILO, this is the other organization, and by the United Nations. So these two examples can even be utilized in the mains paper when you're writing. Now, status in the low income countries. So, women across the world face risk for their health, safety, and quality of life. However, women in the developed countries, like they're looking, जहाँ पे अगर बात करें less developed countries की and low income areas में, they are more vulnerable. The climate change had its repercussions और उसके बाद और भी सारी लेबर इंटेंसिव प्रॉब्लम जो है उनके लाइवलीहुड के ऑप्शंस को खतरा पहुंचाती है. Women are more likely to have their in the poverty as compared to men. If you compare between men and women, women are at the part of the negative side. Now, women on the low income household have the risk for, because they are at the more responsible for food, water, and homely unpaid work, right? So they have to suffer a lot. And according to ILO, 60% of the working women in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa are still in agriculture, where they are often unpaid for their overwork. So this is the ground reality and the brutal truth that still exists in the region. Now, gender specific issues या problem की अगर बात करें, UN की study है जहाँ पे पाया गया that 80% of the those displaced with a climate related disaster are women and girls. So this is specifically with regard to the specific gender, and they have specifically highlighted that those with the most vulnerable communities face particular difficulties after the natural disaster. Now, it also highlights that the women makes a disproportionate gender proportion when it comes to agriculture workforce in the emerging economy. This is specifically with regards to emerging and developing economies. Now, climate change has impacted the agriculture productivity negatively and significantly. अगर बात करें work engagement in agriculture that do not have access to quality inputs and pressing low educations and technical knowledge. Now, how to overcome this? So these are the solution and the preventive measures that can be done. The first and foremost is women education and training. अगर ये दी जाती है तो उनको काफ़ी हद तक help मिलेगी. It will come with the adjusting the climate change. Women have lot to offer. Investment to women education, training, access to resources, and essential will be resilient with the impact of the climate change. For example, the Self-Employment Women Association, that is SEVA teachers, they are more into the part for shifting their climate pattern to support themselves to be better financially. उसके अलावा the essential is that support group to educate the public and train people to adapt the climate change, invest in the women education, and also give training so that they could learn how the environmental friendly practices can be there. There are a lot of other techniques that has been there with the 21st century. तो ये ज़रूरी है कि लोगों को अवेयर किया जाए, that should be adequately informed so that they can incorporate और वो चीज़ों को यूटिलाइज करके उसकी benefits ले पाए. Now the way forward or the conclusion, देखिए women participations की अगर बात करें, climate policies or the climate making is something very crucial, right? Effective climate change ज़रूरी है for the mitigation and adaptation strategies. Women face gender risk in climate change. Gender disparity with a part of the gender making bodies is essential. ये ज़रूरी है कि gender parity को promote किया जाए. Men is equal to women. That is what as idea. Globally, global efforts are also there and efficient for the part of adaptations and mitigations. And the context, emerging economy is urgently required to need with women-led climate action. चाहे वो developing countries हो या emerging countries हो, दोनों के तरफ काम करने की ज़रूरत है. That women-led climate action should be taken into consideration as soon as possible and at the earlier. So this is how you can conclude, specifically if you're writing in mains examination. Moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, we have included the revamped version of question as per the UPSC new pattern that is there in 2023. So we'll be accordingly asking questions on that parameters. Before that, कल के जो सवाल है उसके answers मैं आपको बता दूं. For yesterday questions, for the first question, the correct option is C. For second, the correct option is P. Today's question, that is on the new parameters, on the new standard of the UPSC. बताना है आपको UN Pollution Fund के बारे में. It is an United Nations agencies for the part of the sexually reproductive health. It advocates for gender equality and empower women and girls to tackle the part of their bodies. By 2030, it aims to eliminate unmuted demand for family planning, prevent maternal death, gender-based violence, child marriages, and female genital mutilation. So do check out for the correct option, whether the correct option is only one, only two, all of the three, and none of the above. So you have to check for the correct options. Now the second question is about the National Carbon Registry. It enables the government to handle the national data and trade mechanism for the carbon credit, and the United Nations Development Program credited to it. So check out for the correct option, which among the following is the correct one. We have a lot more other platforms where questions are published on a daily basis. आप वहाँ पे practice कर सकते हैं so that you can have a fair idea about the basic content that is essentially required for the examination. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, queries about the admission, test series, programs, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching.